In the vast, uncharted reaches of the galaxy, where stars whispered secrets to those bold enough to listen, Kai found himself on the edge of a negotiation that could change everything. He was a human explorer, one of those rugged souls from Earth who had ventured out into the cosmos not just for glory, but for the sheer thrill of discovering what lay beyond the veil of the unknown. With his tousled dark hair, sharp blue eyes that missed nothing, and a build honed from years of dodging asteroid fields and outrunning pirate fleets, Kai embodied that unbreakable human spirit, the kind that turned impossible odds into epic tales. He'd landed on Epsilon Colony, a dusty outpost orbiting a gas giant in the fringes of the Zerathia sector, where alliances were forged in the fires of necessity. The air in the dimly lit conference chamber hummed with tension, thick as the nebula clouds outside. Representatives from various species had gathered, but all eyes were on the enigmatic figure at the head of the table. Lyra, the emissary from Lunara, she was no ordinary diplomat. Whispers called her a vampire, though not the blood-sucking fiends of old Earth legends. In her world, vampires were ancient guardians of the night skies, beings who drew energy from the life forces around them, sustaining themselves on the subtle auras of living things. Her hair cascaded like freshly fallen snow, white and silky, framing a face of ethereal beauty with skin as pale as moonlit marble. Small, pointed ears peeked out like delicate elf adornments, adding to her otherworldly charm. She wore a gown that clung to her curvaceous form, gauzy fabrics in deep crimson and silver, revealing just enough to stir the imagination. Elegant yet undeniably seductive, as if designed to command attention in any room, any planet. Kai leaned back in his chair, his boots propped casually on the edge of the table, a smirk playing on his lips. The negotiations had dragged on for hours, haggling over trade routes and mutual defense pacts against the encroaching Void pirates. The Zerathians were wary, the Lunarians even more so, their cultures clashing like meteors. To break the ice, Kai decided to inject some of that infamous human humor. "Look, we've been at this all night," he said, his voice carrying that easy confidence that made aliens either love or hate him. "If we can't agree on sharing resources, how about we start small? Lyra, if you're so worried about trust, you're welcome to share my bed tonight. Plenty of room for two, and who knows, maybe it'll seal the deal." The room fell silent. Kai expected chuckles, maybe a playful retort. Humans joked like that, light-hearted banter to diffuse the pressure. But Lyra's violet eyes locked onto his, narrowing with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. She tilted her head, her pointed ears twitching slightly, as if processing his words through some alien filter. Then, without a word, she rose gracefully, her gown whispering against the floor. The other delegates exchanged uneasy glances, but Kai just grinned wider, thinking he'd finally cracked the tension. To his utter shock, Lyra began to undo the clasps of her gown. The fabric slipped from her shoulders, revealing the smooth, glowing expanse of her pale skin, her body a masterpiece of curves that seemed sculpted by the stars themselves. She wasn't shy. There was a regal poise in her movements, as if this were the most natural thing in the universe. "If that is your offer of alliance," she said, her voice a sultry melody that echoed like distant thunder, "then I accept. Make room in your quarters, human. We shall share this bed you speak of, and bind our fates under the Lunarian rites." Kai's grin faltered, his boots slipping off the table with a thud. The room erupted in murmurs, some shocked, others amused, but all he could focus on was Lyra, now standing there in nothing but a thin undergarment that left little to the imagination, her white hair tumbling over her shoulders like a cascade of starlight. She wasn't joking. This mysterious alien vampire had taken his banter literally, stripping down right there in the negotiation hall, commanding him to move over as if it were a sacred pact. His heart raced, a mix of embarrassment, intrigue, and that undeniable spark of adventure that humans craved. What had started as a harmless quip was spiraling into something far more intimate, far more dangerous, as the delegates filed out, whispering about the bold human and the unyielding Lunarian. Kai stood, trying to regain his composure. Lyra approached him, her scent like wild orchids blooming under an alien moon, enveloping him. "Lead the way, Kai," she murmured, her fingers brushing his arm, sending electric tingles through his skin. "Our alliance begins tonight." He swallowed hard, his mind whirling. This wasn't how negotiations usually went, but then again, he was human, adaptable, resilient, the kind who turned cosmic curveballs into triumphs. Little did he know, This awkward encounter was just the beginning of a thrilling saga where his wit would be tested against interstellar oddities, and an unlikely bond would forge in the heat of the unknown. Kai's quarters on the colony were modest, a compact module with a viewport overlooking the swirling gas giant below. The bed was a simple bunk, meant for one weary explorer, not a shared sanctuary with an alien beauty. As he fumbled with the door panel, Lyra followed closely, her bare feet silent on the metallic floor. The door hissed shut behind them, sealing them in a space that suddenly felt too small, too charged with unspoken possibilities. "Why did you? I mean, that was just a joke," Kai stammered, rubbing the back of his neck, his cheeks flushing under her unwavering gaze, but Lyra simply tilted her head again, those violet eyes gleaming with curiosity. "In Lunara, words are bonds," she explained softly, stepping closer. "You offered sharing, and I accept. It is how we vampires seal trusts, with closeness, with the mingling of energies. Do humans not honor their words?" Kai laughed nervously, backing up until his legs hit the edge of the bed. "We do, but, stripping in front of everyone? That's not exactly standard protocol back on Earth." He tried to keep his eyes on her face, but it was impossible not to notice how her body moved with fluid grace, her skin seeming to shimmer faintly in the low light. As if drawing in the ambient energy of the room, she smiled, a faint curve of her lips that revealed just a hint of pointed canines, not threatening, but intriguing. "Protocol is for the weak. You humans fascinate me. Kai, so bold, so unpredictable. Now make room." With that, she gently pushed him aside and slid onto the bed, her form curling elegantly against the pillows. The mattress dipped under her weight, and Kai found himself staring, torn between bolting for the door and diving into this bizarre adventure. He hesitated, then shrugged off his jacket, deciding to play along. Humans were nothing if not adaptable. "All right, Lyra, if this is how we build an alliance, let's see where it leads." He lay down beside her, the warmth of her body radiating like a gentle star, their breaths sinking in the quiet hum of the colony. As the night deepened, conversations flowed, whispers about her homeworld's eternal twilight, the way vampires like her fed on emotions rather than blood, sustaining themselves through deep connections. Kai shared stories of Earth's oceans and mountains, the chaos of human history that always ended in resilience. There was a spark there, an electric tension building, not just from the awkwardness, but from a genuine pull. Lyra's hand brushed his, her touch cool yet invigorating, drawing him in like gravity. But outside, in the shadows of the colony, trouble brewed. Unbeknownst to them, Void pirates had intercepted the negotiation signals, seeing the alliance as a threat. As alarms began to blare faintly in the distance, Kai sat up, alert, Lyra's eyes snapped open, glowing faintly. "Danger approaches," she whispered. "Our bond may be tested sooner than expected." Kai grinned, that human fire igniting. "Good, nothing like a little chaos to spice things up." And just like that, what started as a joke was transforming into something profound, a partnership where his quick thinking and her ancient powers would clash and combine in ways neither could predict. The alarms grew louder, red lights flashing through the viewport. Kai leaped from the bed, grabbing his laser pistol from the nightstand. Lyra rose fluidly, her near-naked form now a silhouette of poised strength. "The pirates," she said, her voice steady. "They seek to disrupt the pact." Kai nodded, his mind racing. He'd faced pirates before, ragtag fleets of scavengers who preyed on weak outposts, but with Lyra by his side, this felt different. She extended her hand, and when he took it, a surge of energy flowed between them, sharpening his senses, making the world clearer, more vibrant. "This is the sharing," she explained. "My essence bolsters you." Together, they burst out of the quarters, navigating the corridors where colonists scrambled in panic. Blasts echoed from the docking bays, the pirates' ships latching onto the colony like parasitic insects. Kai led the way, his pistol firing precise shots that downed two assailants before they could react. Lyra moved like a shadow, her hands glowing as she drained the life force from an approaching pirate, leaving him slumped and weakened. "You're incredible," Kai breathed, admiration mixing with adrenaline. She glanced at him, a sly smile playing on her lips. "And you, human, are fearless. This alliance, it feels right." As they pushed toward the control room, fending off waves of attackers, Kai's wit shone through. He rigged a door panel to electrocute a group of pirates, turning their advance into a comedic tumble of sparks and shouts. Lyra laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals, her pointed ears perking up. Humans and their gadgets, so inventive, but the real test came in the heart of the colony, where the pirate leader, a hulking brute with cybernetic enhancements, awaited. "Surrender the vampire, human," he snarled. "Her power will fetch a fortune." Kai stepped forward, Lyra at his side. "Over my dead body." The battle erupted, lasers clashing with energy drains, fists meeting augmented steel. Kai dodged and weaved, his human agility outmaneuvering the brute's raw power, while Lyra siphoned his strength, weakening him blow by blow. In a final, thrilling clash, Kai delivered a knockout punch, enhanced by Lyra's shared energy, sending the leader crashing to the floor. Panting, victorious, they stood amid the wreckage. Lyra turned to him, her eyes softening. "You saved us all, Kai, your resilience, it's intoxicating." She leaned in, her lips brushing his in a kiss that sealed more than just an alliance. It ignited a fire that promised adventures beyond the stars. Yet, as the colony cheered their heroes, a subtle unease lingered. Lyra's touch had awakened something in Kai, a hunger for more, but whispers of greater threats loomed in the galaxy's depths. Their story was just beginning, a tapestry of wit, wonder, and unbreakable bonds. The night after the battle, as the colony repaired its wounds, Kai and Lyra returned to his quarters. The bed, once a site of awkward banter, now felt like a haven. She slipped out of her reclaimed gown, her body glowing softly in the dim light, inviting him closer. "Share with me again," she murmured, her voice laced with desire. Kai's heart pounded, the thrill of victory mingling with this new intimacy. He joined her, their bodies entwining in a dance of exploration, human warmth meeting alien coolness, each touch a discovery. It was gentle yet passionate, a merging of worlds that left them breathless, connected on levels deeper than words. In that moment, Kai knew he'd found more than an ally. He'd found a partner in the cosmos's grand chaos. And as they lay there, stars wheeling outside, the adventure stretched endlessly before them. As the stars continued their silent vigil outside the viewport, Kai and Lyra lay entwined, their breaths still ragged from the intensity of their union. The air in the quarters hummed with a lingering electricity, a subtle vibration that seemed to echo the pulse of the colony's generators, or perhaps it was something more primal. The afterglow of two worlds colliding in ways neither had anticipated. Kai traced a finger along the curve of Lyra's hip, marveling at the way her skin responded, shimmering faintly like bioluminescent waves on a forgotten sea. She purred softly, a sound that vibrated through him, stirring embers he thought had cooled. But even in this cocoon of intimacy, a shadow crept in. Kai's instincts, sharpened by years of navigating treacherous space lanes, prickled at the back of his mind. The colony felt too quiet now, the repairs too methodical, as if the universe itself held its breath. Lyra shifted against him, her white hair spilling over his chest like a veil of moonlight, her small pointed ears brushing his skin in a way that sent fresh sparks racing through his veins. "What troubles you, my bold human?" she whispered, her violet eyes gleaming in the dim light, half-lidded with satisfaction yet alert. He hesitated, not wanting to shatter the moment, but the unease grew. "It's nothing, probably just the adrenaline wearing off. That pirate raid came out of nowhere, makes me wonder if there's more to it." His hand wandered lower, cupping the swell of her form, drawing her closer as if to shield her from whatever lurked beyond the walls. She arched into his touch, her body a perfect blend of softness and strength, her curves molding against him with an invitation that made his pulse quicken anew. Lyra's lips curved into a knowing smile, her pointed canines glinting subtly. "In Lunara, we sense the threads of fate weaving tighter in times like these. Perhaps our sharing has awakened forces we cannot yet see." She rolled atop him gracefully, straddling his hips with a fluid motion that pinned him gently but firmly. Her pale skin glowed warmer now, absorbing the heat from his body, and she leaned down, her breath hot against his ear. "Let me ease your worries, Kai. Share your energy with me once more, and I will show you the depths of Lunarian pleasure." The words hung in the air, laced with promise, and Kai felt a surge of desire mingle with that nagging suspense. Her hands explored him slowly, fingers tracing patterns that seemed to ignite nerves he didn't know existed, as if she were mapping the very essence of his humanity. He gasped softly, his own hands roaming up her thighs, feeling the silken texture of her skin. The way it yielded yet held an underlying power, like velvet over steel. The room seemed to narrow, the stars outside blurring into a backdrop for this private dance, but in the recesses of his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As their bodies moved in rhythm, a slow, tantalizing build that left them both breathless, a faint chime echoed from the comm panel on the wall. Kai froze, his grip tightening on her waist. Lyra paused too, her eyes narrowing, the erotic haze momentarily pierced by caution. "Ignore it," she murmured, grinding against him with deliberate slowness, her voice a seductive command that made his resolve waver. But the chime persisted, insistent, pulling at the threads of their seclusion. With a reluctant groan, Kai reached over, his body still entangled with hers, and activated the panel. A holographic display flickered to life, projecting the face of the colony's security chief, a grizzled veteran named Mara. Her expression was grim, lines etched deeper by the recent battle. "Explorer Kai, we've got anomalies on the sensors. Energy signatures matching Lunarian tech, but twisted, and there are whispers among the delegates, someone's leaking intel to off-world contacts." Lyra stiffened above him, her erotic poise shifting to one of alert grace. She dismounted smoothly, her naked form a vision of ethereal beauty as she stood, hair cascading down her back. Kai sat up, the sheets pooling around his waist, his mind racing from passion to strategy. "Twisted how?" he asked, his voice steady despite the interruption. Mara glanced sideways, as if wary of eavesdroppers, like it's been corrupted. "Could be a rogue element from Lunara, or worse, a spy in our midst. We're locking down, but you and the emissary, you're at the center of this. Stay vigilant." The hologram faded, leaving the room in charged silence. Lyra turned to him, her eyes burning with a mix of concern and lingering hunger. "My people have enemies within the shadows of our eternal night. If they've followed me here..." She trailed off, stepping back toward the bed, her body swaying with an unconscious allure that drew Kai's gaze despite the tension. He rose to meet her, pulling her into his arms, their skin pressing together in a way that reignited the spark. "Then we'll face them together," he said, his lips brushing her forehead, then trailing down to her neck, where he felt her pulse quicken under his touch. She melted against him, her hands sliding down his back, nails grazing lightly in a tease that promised more, but the suspense hung heavy. A delicious undercurrent that heightened every sensation, the brush of her pointed ears against his cheek, the curve of her breasts against his chest, the way her thighs pressed invitingly. They sank back onto the bed, the threat outside only fueling the urgency within. Kai's kisses grew more insistent, exploring the contours of her body with a reverence that made her moan softly, her voice a melody of alien ecstasy. She responded in kind, her energy flowing into him, enhancing every caress, every whisper of skin on skin. It was as if the danger amplified their connection, turning the erotic into something almost forbidden, a stolen moment in the eye of a gathering storm. Yet, as their passion built toward another crescendo, a subtle vibration rattled the floor, imperceptible at first, like a distant quake. Lyra's eyes snapped open mid-kiss, her body tensing in his embrace. "It's here," she breathed, her voice laced with warning. Kai pulled back just enough to glance at the viewport, where a shadow eclipsed the stars, a sleek, unmarked vessel approaching the colony, its hull gleaming with an ominous Lunarian sheen. Adrenaline surged through him, mixing with the erotic haze, creating a heady cocktail that left him aching for resolution on both fronts. He rolled them over, pinning her gently beneath him, his lips hovering over hers. "Whatever it is, it can wait a few more minutes," he growled, his hands wandering with purposeful intent, drawing a gasp from her that echoed his own desire. But the ship drew closer, its intentions unknown, casting a pall over their intimacy. Lyra's fingers dug into his shoulders, her body arching up to meet him, yet her eyes darted to the viewport. "Kai, we must prepare. This could be the end of our alliance or the beginning of something greater." Her words were a challenge, a seduction wrapped in suspense, urging him to balance the fire within against the peril without. He nodded, stealing one last, deep kiss that left them both trembling, before they disentangled and reached for their clothes or what remained of them. The erotic tension lingered, unresolved, a promise hanging in the air as they armed themselves. Kai grabbed his pistol, feeling the weight of his human ingenuity, while Lyra summoned a faint aura around her, her vampire essence coiling like a protective veil. As they stepped toward the door, side by side, the ship's docking clamps echoed through the colony. Whatever awaited them would test not just their alliance, but the depths of their newfound bond, a bond forged in banter, battle, and the irresistible pull of two souls from distant stars. The corridors were dimly lit, emergency protocols casting long shadows that danced like specters. Kai and Lyra moved in sync, her bare feet silent beside his booted steps, her gown hastily refastened but still revealing glimpses of her alluring form. The erotic aftertaste of their encounter thrummed in his veins, making every brush of her arm against his a reminder of unfinished business. They reached the docking bay just as the intruder vessel latched on with a resounding clang. Security teams were already in position, weapons trained on the airlock. Mara nodded at them from behind a barricade. It's broadcasting Lunarian codes, but encrypted, demanding parley with the emissary. Lyra's expression hardened, her violet eyes flashing. This is no coincidence. I sense a familiar darkness, a betrayer from my court. She placed a hand on Kai's chest, her touch sending a jolt of energy that steadied him, even as it stirred memories of their intimacy. Stay close, my hero. Your human fire may be our salvation. The airlock hissed open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, a tall, imposing Lunarian male with hair as white as Lyra's but eyes like blackened voids. He stepped forward, his gaze locking on her with possessive hunger. Lyra, my queen's favored. You've strayed far, sharing energies with this primitive. Kai's jaw clenched, protectiveness surging. The intruder Vexar, as Lyra whispered his name, was a rival suitor, exiled for his twisted ambitions. He sought to claim her power, disrupting the alliance to seize control of Lunara's fringes. The confrontation crackled with tension, Vexar's aura clashing against Lyra's, while Kai positioned himself as the unyielding human shield. Words flew like daggers, accusations of betrayal, claims of rightful bonding. But beneath it all, Kai felt the erotic undercurrent persist, Lyra's hand in his, squeezing with a secret promise, her body leaning into him as if drawing strength from their earlier connection. Vexar noticed, his lips curling in disdain. You debase yourself with this mortal's touch. I offer purity, power. Lyra laughed, a sound both defiant and alluring. You offer chains. Kai offers freedom and passion you could never comprehend. Her words ignited something in Kai, a fierce pride that made him step forward. Pistol raised, the standoff teetered on the edge, suspense building like a coiled spring. Vexar's guards emerged from the ship, energy weapons humming, outnumbering the colony's forces. A fight seemed inevitable, the air thick with impending violence, but Kai's mind raced, spotting a vulnerability in the ship's docking mechanism, a human-engineered flaw he could exploit. Lyra, he murmured, his breath warm against her ear, distract him, share a bit of that Lunarian charm. She nodded, stepping forward with a sway that captivated even Vexar, her voice weaving a seductive tale of reconciliation. As she drew him in, her words laced with false allure. Kai slipped into the shadows, his heart pounding with a mix of jealousy and excitement. He reached the control panel, fingers flying over the keys, hacking the lock with earthborn tech savvy. The erotic tension from before fueled his focus, every second a race against the clock. Lyra's performance was masterful, her body language a tease that held Vexar spellbound, her pointed ears twitching as she sensed Kai's progress. With a final command, the docking clamps released prematurely, the ship lurching. Chaos erupted, guards stumbling, Vexar whirling in rage. Kai burst back into view, grabbing Lyra and pulling her to safety as the airlock sealed, expelling the intruders into the void. Breathless, they collapsed against the wall, security mopping up the stragglers. Lyra turned to him, eyes alight with admiration and desire. You are magnificent, Kai. No Lunarian could match your cunning. Her lips met his in a fierce kiss, the suspense dissolving into renewed passion, their bodies pressing together amid the fading echoes of battle. But as the colony stabilized, a new whisper emerged, a message from Lunara's High Council, hinting at deeper conspiracies. The erotic haze lifted just enough to reveal the path ahead, more dangers, more intimacies, in a galaxy where human resilience shone brightest. The message from Lunara's High Council flickered into existence on the comm panel like a ghost from the void, its holographic seal pulsing with an urgency that cut through the lingering warmth of their kiss. Kai pulled back slightly, his arms still wrapped around Lyra's waist, feeling the subtle tremor in her form, a mix of the aftershocks from their passion and something deeper, more ominous, her violet eyes, moments ago softened by desire, now sharpened with a wariness that made his own senses heighten. What does it say? He asked, his voice low, laced with the protective instinct that had become second nature since their worlds had entangled. Lyra disentangled herself just enough to lean toward the panel, her white hair brushing his shoulder in a whisper of silk, sending a residual spark through him. She scanned the encrypted text, her pointed ears twitching as if attuning to hidden frequencies. It's a warning, she murmured, her tone dropping to a dramatic hush that echoed the gravity of ancient Lunarian prophecies. The Council speaks of a schism in our ranks. Vexar was no lone exile. He's the harbinger of a faction that seeks to unravel the old bonds, to harness vampire energies for dominion over the stars. And they mention a relic, hidden in the colony's depths, the Heart of Nytheria, a crystal that amplifies life forces if it falls into the wrong hands. Her words trailed off, leaving a thrilling void that Kai felt compelled to fill. His mind raced, piecing together the fragments, the pirate raid as a diversion, Vexar's intrusion as a probe, and now this relic, a curious artifact that could tip the scales of power across sectors. "Then we get to it first," he declared, his human resolve igniting like a fusion core, turning curiosity into action. He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the door with an urgency that mirrored the pounding of his heart. The colony's corridors, once a sanctuary, now felt like a labyrinth of shadows, every hum of machinery a potential threat. They moved swiftly, Lyra's graceful strides matching his determined pace, her near-bare form clad only in the hastily donned gown that clung to her curves like a second skin, a reminder of their intimate vulnerabilities amid the escalating drama. Security teams nodded as they passed, but Kai sensed the undercurrent of fear rippling through the outpost, whispers of Lunarian betrayal and human meddling that added layers of intrigue. What if the relic wasn't just a power source? What if it held secrets about Lyra's people that could shatter their budding alliance or deepen it in ways unimaginable? Deeper into the colony they delved, descending via a service lift that groaned under the weight of forgotten machinery. The air grew cooler, thicker with the scent of ozone and ancient dust, building a thrilling atmosphere of descent into the unknown. Kai's pistol was at the ready, its grip familiar in his palm, while Lyra's aura began to glow faintly, her vampire essence drawing ambient energies to prepare for whatever awaited. The heart was placed here eons ago, she explained breathlessly, her voice weaving a tapestry of legend that heightened the drama. A gift from our ancestors to foster peace with emerging species like yours, but in the wrong hands, it could corrupt, turning guardians into tyrants. The lift shuddered to a halt, doors parting to reveal a cavernous sublevel, a forgotten storage vault repurposed as a relic chamber, lit by sporadic emergency beacons that cast elongated shadows like accusing fingers. They stepped out, the silence oppressive, broken only by the distant drip of condensation. Kai's eyes scanned the room, landing on a pedestal at the center, where a crystalline structure pulsed with an inner light, its facets refracting colors that danced across the walls. The Heart of Nytheria, beautiful, mesmerizing, and dangerously alive. But they weren't alone. A figure emerged from the gloom, cloaked in Lunarian finery twisted by modifications, cybernetic enhancements glinting under the low light. It was Vexar, somehow having slipped back aboard during the chaos, his black void eyes fixed on the relic with a hunger that made Kai's blood run cold. "You fools!" Vexar snarled, his voice a dramatic boom that echoed off the metal walls, amplifying the thrill of confrontation. "The heart is mine. With it, I'll reshape Lunara, and your pitiful human will be but a footnote." Lyra gasped, a sound laced with surprise and betrayal, her hand tightening in Kai's. "How? We expelled you." But Vexar laughed, a chilling sound that revealed his cunning. He'd used a cloaked shuttle, a hidden ally within the colony's ranks who had sabotaged the sensors. The revelation hit like a plasma blast, curious threads unraveling. The ally was Mara, the security chief, corrupted by promises of immortality through Lunarian energies. She stepped out beside him, her grizzled face twisted in regret and ambition. "I'm sorry, Kai," she muttered, her weapon trained on them, but eternity beats a dusty outpost. The climax erupted in a whirlwind of motion, thrilling and unrelenting. Vexar lunged for the heart, his enhanced limbs blurring with speed, but Kai was faster, his human reflexes, honed by instinct rather than augmentation, propelled him forward. He tackled Vexar mid-stride, the two crashing to the floor in a tangle of limbs and fury. Punches flew, Kai's fists connecting with cybernetic plating that sparked on impact, each blow a testament to raw resilience. "You underestimate us humans." Kai growled through gritted teeth, dodging a swipe that could have cleaved him in two. Lyra, meanwhile, engaged Mara, her aura flaring into a dramatic shield of energy that deflected laser fire. The room lit up with bursts of light, shadows dancing wildly as the women clashed, Lyra's graceful dodges against Mara's brute force, a thrilling ballet of power and betrayal. "Why, Mara?" Lyra demanded, her voice curious and pained, even as she siphoned subtle energies from her foe, weakening her step by step. Mara fired back, "For a life beyond this rock," Vexar promised, but surprises mounted. As Kai wrestled Vexar, pinning him momentarily, the relic began to hum louder, reacting to the chaos. Its light intensified, curious tendrils of energy snaking out, drawn to the strongest life forces. One tendril latched onto Kai, flooding him with visions, flashes of Lunarian history, ancient pacts, and a surprising truth: the heart wasn't just an amplifier, it was a judge, binding souls worthy of its power. In that instant, Kai felt Lyra's essence intertwine with his through the crystal, a thrilling surge that amplified his strength tenfold. Vexar roared in defiance, breaking free and reaching for the heart, but the relic rejected him, its energy lashing out like a whip, scorching his cybernetics and sending him reeling. Impossible, he bellowed, the drama peaking as circuits fried and sparks flew. Kai seized the moment, delivering a final, empowered punch that shattered Vexar's defenses, crumpling him to the ground in a heap of smoking tech and defeated ambition. Across the room, Lyra disarmed Mara with a burst of drained energy, the chief collapsing in exhaustion, her betrayal exposed. But the true surprise came as the heart's light enveloped Kai and Lyra, pulling them into a shared vision, a curious glimpse of futures intertwined, where human ingenuity and Lunarian mystique forged unbreakable empires. The crystal pulsed once more, then dimmed, its power now attuned to them, a thrilling gift that sealed their bond beyond words. Panting, Kai pulled Lyra into his arms amid the wreckage, the room's tension dissolving into a dramatic hush. "We did it," he whispered, his lips brushing her pointed ear, igniting a spark of lingering desire amid the victory. But curiosity lingered. What other secrets did the heart hold? And with Vexar subdued and Mara in custody, the High Council's message took on new meaning. This was no end, but a gateway to greater mysteries in the stars. Yet, as they ascended back to the surface, the colony's alarms blared anew, not from external threats, but from within. The heart's activation had triggered a chain reaction, awakening dormant systems in the outpost, revealing hidden chambers and artifacts long buried. Thrilling possibilities unfolded, alliances strengthened, but with surprising revelations about Earth's own forgotten ties to Lunara. Kai glanced at Lyra, her eyes wide with wonder, and felt the pull of destiny, a dramatic call to explore deeper, where human heroism would shine against the galaxy's darkest enigmas. The battle's echoes faded, but the climax's rush lingered in their veins, a thrilling reminder that in the cosmos, surprises were the true constant. Lyra leaned against him, her curvaceous form fitting perfectly, whispering, "You are my salvation, Kai, but what comes next? It terrifies and excites me." He smiled, drawing her closer, ready for the curious twists ahead, his resilient spirit unyielding. As they emerged into the colony's main hub, delegates gathered, awestruck by the tales already spreading. The heart, now in safe hands, promised prosperity, but Vexar's defeat unveiled a larger conspiracy, a network of exiles plotting from the shadows of Nytheria, Lunara's sister world. The drama intensified with a holographic summons from the council, projecting a regal figure who revealed a surprising lineage. Lyra was no mere emissary, but heir to the throne, her union with Kai potentially fulfilling an ancient prophecy of interstellar unity. Kai's world tilted, thrilling shock coursing through him. "Heir, you never said." Lyra's smile was enigmatic, curious depths in her violet gaze. Some secrets are best unveiled in the heat of climax. The revelation hung heavy, dramatic implications rippling outward. Enemies would multiply, allies would rally, and their bond would be the linchpin. In that moment, surrounded by the hum of an awakening colony, Kai embraced the surprise, his human heart pounding with anticipation. The galaxy beckoned with thrilling perils and curious wonders, where he, the unassuming explorer, had become a legend in the making. In that moment, surrounded by the hum of an awakening colony, Kai embraced the surprise, his human heart pounding with anticipation. The galaxy beckoned with thrilling perils and curious wonders, where he, the unassuming explorer, had become a legend in the making. But legends, as Kai was quickly learning, came with their share of complications, starting with the cluster of wide-eyed delegates who now crowded around them in the main hub, their faces a mix of awe, confusion, and barely concealed envy. The holographic council figure lingered in the air like a judgmental specter, its regal gaze fixed on Lyra as if appraising a long-lost treasure suddenly unearthed. Lyra straightened beside him, her curvaceous form still radiating that post-battle glow, her white hair slightly disheveled in a way that only enhanced her ethereal allure. Her pointed ears perked up at the murmurs rippling through the crowd, and she squeezed Kai's hand, a gesture that felt both possessive and reassuring. The prophecy speaks of a union between shadow and light. The council hologram intoned, its voice booming dramatically over the hub speakers, amplifying the tension like a poorly timed opera crescendo. Emissary Lyra, as heir to Lunara's throne, your bond with this human may fulfill it, or doom us all. Kai blinked, processing the words while trying not to let his jaw drop. Doom that escalated quickly. He glanced at Lyra, expecting some royal poise, but instead, she flushed, a rare pink tint creeping across her pale skin, making her look almost human in her embarrassment. They could have sent a private message. She muttered under her breath, violet eyes darting away from the staring crowd. The awkwardness hit him like an asteroid fragment. Here they were, fresh from a relic-fueled vision and a kiss that still tingled on his lips, now thrust into an interstellar soap opera with an audience. A chuckle escaped Kai before he could stop it, lightening the heavy air just a fraction. So, does this mean I get a crown, or at least a fancy title like Consort of the Stars? He waggled his eyebrows at her, aiming for humor to cut through the drama, but the delegates gasped as if he'd suggested skinny dipping in a black hole. Lyra shot him a look that was half amused, half mortified, her small ears twitching in that adorable way that always distracted him. Kai, this is serious, she whispered, though a smile tugged at her lips. The council doesn't appreciate jests about sacred unions. The hologram flickered, the council figure's expression stern. Human Kai, your role in this is unprecedented. We require your presence on Lunara immediately to verify the bond's authenticity. Prepare for transport. With that, the projection vanished, leaving a stunned silence that quickly filled with excited chatter. Delegates from various species buzzed around them, a tentacled Zarathian diplomat slithering closer to offer congratulations, while a burly Orvian trader clapped Kai on the back hard enough to jolt him forward. Ha, a human bedding a vampire queen. That's one for the Holovids. Kai winced, rubbing his shoulder, the awkward situation snowballing into a full-blown spectacle. Lyra's hand slipped from his as she tried to compose herself, but in her haste, she accidentally brushed against a control panel, triggering a colony-wide announcement. Attention all personnel, Emissary Lyra and Explorer Kai are to report for royal bonding protocols. The voice echoed through every speaker, and Kai felt his face heat up. Bonding protocols. In front of everyone? He grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her toward a side corridor for some semblance of privacy, but not before overhearing a snicker from a young tech. Bet the human didn't see that coming, literally. They ducked into a maintenance alcove, the door sliding shut behind them with a whoosh, sealing out the chaos but trapping them in a cramped space barely big enough for two. Lyra pressed against him unintentionally, her body heat mingling with his, that familiar scent of wild orchids overwhelming in the confined quarters. This is not how I envisioned revealing my heritage, she admitted, her voice a dramatic sigh that carried the weight of centuries-old expectations. Her gown, still askew from their earlier escapades, slipped a fraction, revealing more of her glowing skin, and Kai's eyes flicked down before he could stop himself. Awkward didn't even begin to cover it, he was standing there, heart racing from the prophecy bombshell, while trying not to ogle the alien vampire who might just be his destined queen. He cleared his throat, forcing a grin to inject some humor into the mounting drama. Hey, at least it's not a shotgun wedding, though with Lunarian tech, who knows, maybe they have energy rifles for that. Lyra tilted her head, confusion furrowing her brow, another cultural mishap that made her pointed ears quiver. Shotgun? Is that a human ritual involving weapons? Kai laughed outright, the sound echoing in the tight space, easing the tension just enough to breathe. No, it's, never mind, bad joke, but seriously, heir to the throne. You could have mentioned that before the whole bed-sharing thing. She leaned in closer, her curves brushing against him in a way that heightened the already charged atmosphere, her violet eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made the alcove feel even smaller. Would it have changed anything? She asked, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper, laced with the drama of unspoken fears. What if he rejected her now, knowing the stakes? The galaxy's fate hanging on their bond. Kai's pulse quickened, the awkward proximity turning intimate, but before he could respond, the door panel beeped insistently, a summons from the transport bay. They emerged back into the hub, the crowd parting like a sea before royalty, whispers following them like persistent comets. The human hero and the vampire princess, it's like a fairy tale. One delegate gushed, while another muttered, more like a cosmic comedy. Kai kept his arm around Lyra's waist, partly for support, partly because he couldn't resist the feel of her against him, even as the drama escalated with every step. A Lunarian shuttle had docked, its sleek hull humming with advanced drives that promised a swift journey to her homeworld. But as they boarded, a holographic advisor appeared. Projecting from Lyra's wrist device, a stern-faced elder with white hair braided in intricate patterns. Heir Lyra, the council insists on preliminary rites en route, the advisor declared dramatically, his image flickering with the ship's acceleration. The human must undergo the essence trial to prove compatibility. Kai raised an eyebrow, settling into a plush seat beside Lyra as the shuttle detached from the colony. Essence trial? Sounds ominous. Do I have to fight a space dragon or something? The advisor's expression soured. It is a sacred communion of energies, not a jest. You will share vulnerabilities, bare your soul. As it were, Lyra's hand found his under the armrest, her touch cool and steady, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of nervousness. The trial, she explained in hushed tones as stars streaked by outside, involved a shared dream state induced by Lunarian crystals, where they'd confront each other's deepest fears and desires. Drama heightened as the advisor prepared the chamber, a dimly lit pod at the shuttle's rear, scented with exotic herbs that made Kai's head spin. Strip to your essence, the advisor commanded, and Kai nearly choked, again with the stripping. Lyra began to undo her gown with graceful poise, but Kai hesitated, fumbling with his boots in the awkward confines. You Lunarians really have a thing for getting naked at the worst times, he quipped, trying to laugh off the embarrassment as his shirt caught on his elbow, leaving him tangled like a novice wrestler. Lyra giggled, a rare, melodic sound that cut through the tension, helping him free with gentle fingers that lingered a bit too long, sparking that familiar electricity. It's symbolic, Kai, vulnerability fosters trust, but as they lay side by side in the pod, crystals humming to life around them, the humor faded into dramatic anticipation. The dream state pulled them under, visions swirling like a nebula storm, Kai reliving his loneliest space drifts, fears of abandonment from Earth's fractured past, while Lyra's memories flooded in centuries of isolation as a hidden heir, the weight of a throne she never wanted. The awkwardness peaked when their desires intertwined in the dreamscape, intimate flashes of their earlier encounters, amplified and exposed, leaving Kai blushing even in subconscious form. Is this part of the trial or just my imagination running wild? He thought, but Lyra's mental voice responded with amused warmth. Both, my bold human. A humorous twist came when Kai's fear manifested as a comical pirate clown chasing them through a candy-coated asteroid field. Forcing them to defeat it with laughter, Lyra's regal demeanor cracking into genuine mirth that bonded them deeper. But drama surged as darker elements emerged. Visions of the Exile Network, led by Vexar's kin, plotting an assault on Lunara itself. The trial revealed a surprising vulnerability. Lyra's energy dependency could be weaponized against her, a secret that made Kai's protective instincts flare. They awoke gasping, bodies entwined in the pod, the advisor nodding approval from outside. The bond holds, but the exiles approach faster than anticipated. Kai sat up, pulling Lyra close, the awkward trial transforming into a profound connection. Well, that was intense. Next time, let's skip the soul-bearing and just grab coffee. She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder as the shuttle hurtled toward Lunara, humor lightening the load but drama building like an incoming warp storm. Alarms blared suddenly, the exile's fleet detected on scanners, closing in with relentless speed. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom, incoming hostiles, brace for evasive maneuvers. Kai leaped to his feet, helping Lyra dress in haste, their fingers fumbling together in a rush that sparked awkward laughs amid the panic. Of all the times for a family reunion, he joked, grabbing a nearby energy rifle as the shuttle banked sharply. Lyra's eyes met his, violet depths filled with dramatic resolve. Together, we face them. Your humor, it strengthens me. Outside the viewport, enemy ships loomed, sleek Lunarian vessels twisted by exile modifications, firing warning shots that rocked the shuttle. Drama heightened as Kai took the co-pilot seat, his human piloting skills kicking in, weaving through laser fire with daring flips that left Lyra clinging to him. You're insane, she exclaimed, but with a thrilled edge. A near miss grazed the hull, sparking a fire in the aft section, forcing an awkward scramble to extinguish it, Kai using his jacket, Lyra channeling her aura to smother the flames, their bodies pressing together in the chaos. Humor snuck in when Kai quipped, "If we survive this, I'm demanding hazard pay and a real date, no prophecies involved." Lyra laughed, even as she drained energy from a pursuing ship's shields through a psychic link, weakening it enough for Kai to target. The battle intensified, dramatic explosions lighting the void as they outmaneuvered the fleet, but one ship latched on with a boarding clamp, intruders forcing their way aboard. Kai and Lyra barricaded in the cockpit, the awkward intimacy of the trial fueling their synergy. "I won't let them take you," he vowed, pistol raised. She kissed him fiercely, her pointed ears brushing his cheek. "Nor I you." The door buckled. Exiles bursting in, a squad led by Vexar's sister, a fierce warrior with eyes like storm clouds. "Surrender the heir, human worm." The fight erupted in close quarters, heightening the drama with every clash. Kai dodged blades enhanced by dark energies, his wit shining through. "Lady, if you wanted a dance, you could have asked nicely." He tripped one assailant with a loose cable, turning the scuffle into a comedic tumble, but the leader pressed on, her attacks forcing Lyra back. Awkward moments arose as Kai shielded Lyra, taking a glancing blow that singed his arm, pain mixing with determination. Lyra retaliated, siphoning the leader's strength, but the exile countered with a device that disrupted her aura, leaving her weakened and vulnerable. Drama peaked as Kai charged, tackling the leader in a desperate grapple, humor fading into raw heroism. "Get off her," he roared, pinning the foe long enough for Lyra to recover and bind her with energy tendrils. With the boarders subdued, they detached the enemy ship, sending it spiraling into the void. Panting, Kai pulled Lyra into his arms, the shuttle limping toward Lunara. "That was too close," he admitted, humor returning with a wry grin. "Next time, let's elope instead." She nestled against him, the drama of the chase forging their bond tighter, awkward trials and all. As Lunara's twilight horizon loomed, a world of wonders and perils awaiting their arrival. Yet, as they entered atmosphere, a final awkward twist, the Council's welcoming committee broadcast live across the planet, capturing their disheveled, battle-worn state for all to see. "The heir returns with her human consort." The announcer boomed. Kai groaned, burying his face in Lyra's hair. "Great, now we're interstellar celebrities." She chuckled, drawing him closer. "Embrace it, my love, the drama is just beginning." Yet, as they entered atmosphere, a final awkward twist, the Council's welcoming committee broadcast live across the planet, capturing their disheveled, battle-worn state for all to see. "The heir returns with her human consort." The announcer boomed. Kai groaned, burying his face in Lyra's hair. "Great, now we're interstellar celebrities." She chuckled, drawing him closer. "Embrace it, my love, the drama is just beginning." The shuttle touched down on Lunara's twilight surface with a gentle thud, the eternal dusk of the planet enveloping them like a soft veil. Massive spires of crystalline architecture rose around the landing pad, glowing with an inner luminescence that mirrored the subtle shimmer of Lyra's skin. Crowds had gathered, Lunarians in flowing robes, their pale features alight with curiosity and reverence, but the council had arranged a private escort to the royal sanctum. A sprawling palace carved into the heart of a mountain that overlooked vast, shadowy valleys. As Kai and Lyra were whisked away in a hovering transport, the weight of the day settled over them like a comforting fog, the adrenaline from the chase giving way to a deeper, more personal exhaustion. Inside the sanctum, the air was scented with blooming night flowers, their petals unfurling under the dim, perpetual starlight that filtered through arched windows. Attendants bowed deeply, ushering them to a lavish chamber prepared for the heir's return, a space dominated by a grand bed draped in silken fabrics, surrounded by floating orbs that cast a warm, inviting glow. "Rest now," one attendant murmured, "for the formal rites begin at dawn's whisper." The door sealed behind them, leaving Kai and Lyra alone at last, the outside world's drama fading into a distant hum. Lyra turned to him, her violet eyes softening as she shed the remnants of her battle-torn gown, letting it pool at her feet like discarded worries. Her body, its elegant curves and pale, glowing skin, stood before him in all its natural grace, her small pointed ears framing a face flushed with a mix of relief and longing. Kai felt a stir within him, the day's tensions coiling into something more intimate, more urgent. He stepped closer, his hands finding her waist, pulling her gently against him. "We've earned this moment," he whispered, his voice husky with emotion, as his fingers traced the smooth lines of her back. Feeling the subtle warmth that built wherever they touched, she responded with a soft sigh, her arms wrapping around his neck, her white hair cascading over them like a curtain of privacy. Their lips met in a kiss that started tender, a gentle exploration born from the shared trials, but quickly deepened into a passionate exchange that spoke of all the unspoken desires accumulated through battles and revelations. Kai's hands roamed with care, caressing the swell of her hips, the dip of her spine, drawing her even nearer until there was no space left between them. Lyra's breath quickened, her body arching into his touch, her energy aura flickering faintly, enhancing every sensation like a shared secret. They moved toward the bed, the silken sheets welcoming them as they sank into its embrace. Kai shed his own clothes with hurried yet reverent motions, his skin meeting hers in a rush of warmth that contrasted beautifully with her cool, ethereal essence. He marveled at the way she responded to him, her pointed ears twitching with each whispered endearment, her curves fitting perfectly against his form as if the stars themselves had designed this union. Their connection went beyond the physical. It was a mingling of energies, her vampire nature drawing gently from his vitality, not to drain, but to amplify the pleasure they shared, creating waves of bliss that built slowly, deliberately. In the quiet of the chamber, with the orbs dimming to a romantic haze, they explored each other with a tenderness that belied the intensity of their bond. Kai's lips trailed along her neck, eliciting soft moans that echoed like music in the vast room, while her fingers danced across his chest, tracing patterns that sent shivers through him. The awkwardness of earlier trials melted away, replaced by a harmonious rhythm where every caress, every gentle press of bodies, spoke of trust and affection. Lyra's legs entwined with his, her body inviting him closer, and in that intimate dance, they found a release that washed away the galaxy's chaos, leaving only the two of them, connected in a profound, loving embrace. Time seemed to stretch, the eternal twilight outside mirroring the timeless quality of their union. Kai held her close afterward, their breaths sinking in the afterglow, his hand resting on the curve of her hip as she nestled against his chest. "This, us, it's more than any prophecy," he murmured, planting a soft kiss on her forehead. Lyra smiled, her violet eyes gleaming with contentment, her energy aura pulsing softly in harmony with his heartbeat. But even in this serene moment, a subtle undercurrent lingered, the knowledge that dawn would bring new challenges, rites that would test their bond publicly. As they lay there, wrapped in each other's arms, the palace's subtle vibrations hinted at preparations below, attendants arranging ceremonial halls, council members debating the implications of a human consort. Lyra traced lazy circles on Kai's skin, her touch still sparking faint echoes of their passion. "The rites will demand we prove our compatibility before the court," she explained softly, her voice laced with a hint of vulnerability. "It involves sharing energies in a ritual circle, but nothing as private as this." Kai chuckled lightly, pulling her closer. "As long as it doesn't involve more surprise broadcasts, I think we can handle it." Their conversation drifted into whispers of dreams and futures, the intimacy of the night strengthening their resolve. Yet, as sleep began to claim them, a faint chime from Lyra's wrist device interrupted the peace, a message from the council, urging haste in the rites due to stirring unrest among the exiles. Kai's protective instincts flared, but Lyra soothed him with a gentle kiss, her body pressing against his once more in reassurance. "We face it together, my love," she said, her curves molding to him in a way that reignited a spark, leading to another tender exploration that blended comfort with desire. In those stolen hours, their connection deepened, each touch an affirmation of their unlikely partnership. Kai discovered the subtle ways her energy responded to his human warmth, creating sensations that were both exhilarating and soothing, while Lyra reveled in his resilience. The way his embrace made her feel grounded amid the stars' vastness. They moved with a natural flow, bodies intertwining in expressions of affection that left them breathless yet fulfilled, the chamber filled with the soft sounds of their shared joy. As the first hints of Lunara's whispered dawn approached, a faint shift in the twilight's hue, they finally allowed themselves to rest, limbs entangled, hearts aligned. The intimacy they had shared not only healed the wounds of the day but fortified them for what lay ahead, a testament to the power of their bond. Kai drifted off with Lyra in his arms, her white hair splayed across the pillows, her pointed ears relaxed in slumber, dreaming of a future where human ingenuity and Lunarian grace conquered all. But the peace was fleeting. As the chimes grew more insistent, signaling the start of the rites, Kai stirred, pulling her closer one last time. Their eyes met in the dim light, a silent promise passing between them. The drama of the court awaited, but in this moment, they were simply two souls who had found solace in each other, ready to face the galaxy's trials with renewed strength. The rites began in a grand hall adorned with glowing crystals. The council assembled in a circle around a central platform where Kai and Lyra stood hand in hand. The air thrummed with energy, attendants chanting softly as orbs floated overhead, casting ethereal lights that danced across their forms. Lyra's gown for the occasion was a flowing garment that accentuated her curves, while Kai wore a simple Lunarian tunic that felt foreign yet fitting. "Share your essences," the elder commanded, and they stepped into the ritual circle, energies mingling in a visible aura that enveloped them. The process was intense but beautiful, a public affirmation of their private connection, where Kai felt Lyra's life force blend with his, creating a harmonious glow that silenced any doubters. Whispers of approval rippled through the court, but amid the drama, a messenger burst in. The exiles rally at Nytheria's border. They demand the heart or war. Kai's jaw set, his hand tightening on Lyra's. The intimacy of the night fueled his determination. He wouldn't let threats unravel what they had built. "Then we take the fight to them," he declared, his voice echoing with human defiance. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with pride. Together, they turned to the council, the bond sealed, ready for the escalating storm. As preparations for defense began, Kai and Lyra stole a brief moment in a side chamber, their bodies drawing close in a quick, passionate embrace that reaffirmed their unity. Her lips on his were a reminder of the night's tenderness, her curves pressing against him in a way that promised more once victory was secured. "You are my anchor," she breathed, and he held her, the intimacy sustaining them through the chaos. The fleet assembled under Lunara's twilight skies, ships humming to life as Kai took a command role, his ingenuity complementing Lyra's strategic insight. As they launched into the void, the exiles' armada loomed, a dramatic confrontation brewing, but in the quiet of the bridge, Lyra's hand found his, a subtle touch that carried the echo of their shared nights, bolstering their spirits. The battle unfolded with thrilling intensity, lasers clashing against shields, but Kai's clever tactics, rerouting energy from the heart to boost defenses, turned the tide. Lyra channeled her aura to weaken enemy leaders, their combined efforts a symphony of power and wit. In the heat of it, they shared a glance filled with the intimacy of lovers, unspoken words passing between them. Victory came as the exile flagship surrendered, their forces scattering. Back on Lunara, celebrations erupted, but for Kai and Lyra, the true triumph was in a private return to their chamber, where they could once again lose themselves in each other's arms, the bond unbreakable. Yet, as they embraced, a new message arrived, a curious artifact signal from deep space, hinting at greater alliances. The adventure continued, but for now, they savored the moment, bodies entwined in loving harmony. Yet, as they embraced, a new message arrived, a curious artifact signal from deep space, hinting at greater alliances. The adventure continued, but for now, they savored the moment, bodies entwined in loving harmony. The signal's chime faded into the background hum of the palace, a gentle reminder that the galaxy never truly slept, even on a world locked in eternal twilight like Lunara. Kai traced idle patterns on Lyra's back, his fingers lingering on the smooth, glowing expanse of her skin, feeling the subtle pulse of her energy syncing with his steady heartbeat. She nestled closer, her white hair fanning out across his chest like a blanket of starlit snow, her pointed ears brushing against him in a way that sent faint, pleasant shivers through his body. "What do you think it is?" Kai murmured, his voice low and relaxed, not wanting to shatter the peaceful cocoon they'd created. The signal had come through secure channels, a burst of data from an unmanned probe drifting in the uncharted fringes beyond Nytheria's borders. Lyra lifted her head slightly, her violet eyes reflecting the dim glow of the chamber's orbs, a mix of curiosity and contentment in her gaze, perhaps a relic from an ancient civilization or a beacon from allies long forgotten. The council will analyze it soon enough. For now, let it be a promise of tomorrow's wonders. He smiled, pulling her in for a soft kiss, their lips meeting with the easy familiarity of lovers who had faced down empires together. The warmth of her curves against him stirred memories of their recent intimacies, but there was no rush now, just the quiet joy of being together. As they settled back, the signal's data packet automatically unpacked on a nearby holographic display, projecting faint schematics into the air above the bed. Kai glanced at it idly, his explorer's instinct drawing his eye to the coordinates embedded in the transmission. "Those look familiar," he said offhandedly, propping himself up on one elbow for a better view. Lyra followed his gaze, her body shifting gracefully beside him, her hand resting on his thigh in a casual, affectionate touch. The schematics resolved into clearer forms, a derelict station, orbiting a rogue planet in the void between sectors. Scans showed energy signatures matching Lunarian tech, but twisted, interwoven with something else, human engineering, perhaps. Kai's brow furrowed as he zoomed in, his mind piecing together fragments from his past missions. Wait, that's the Epsilon Drift outpost. I scouted it years ago, back when I was running solo ops for Earth Command. Thought it was abandoned junk. Why would a signal come from there now? Lyra sat up fully, her curvaceous form silhouetted against the hologram's light, her pointed ears perking with interest. She waved a hand, enhancing the display with her aura, pulling up layered data that revealed more, encrypted logs, biosigns, and a faint distress beacon looped in an old Earth frequency. "This isn't just any artifact," she whispered, her voice taking on a note of intrigue. "The signal carries a personal marker, addressed to you, Kai, by name." That caught him off guard, a ripple of unease cutting through the serenity. He reached out, interfacing with the hologram through a neural link implant from his explorer days, decrypting the core message. Audio crackled to life, a voice emerging from the static, familiar, yet impossible. "Kai, if you're hearing this, it means the contingency's activated. The alliance isn't what it seems." "Lyra, she's not." The voice cut off abruptly, replaced by a burst of interference, but Kai froze, recognition hitting him like a cold vacuum breach. That voice, it was his own. Older, wearier, but unmistakably him. Lyra leaned in, her body pressing against his side for a better listen, but Kai's heart pounded now, the intimate haze shattering as questions flooded his mind. "How? That's me, but I've never recorded this." He replayed the fragment, analyzing the timestamp embedded in the data, a date from the future, 2 cycles ahead in galactic standard time. The implications dawned slowly, building like a warp storm on the horizon. Time displacement, a parallel echo, or something more sinister, a fabricated trap. As the hologram cycled through attached files, visuals emerged, grainy footage of a battle-scarred Kai, standing in the derelict station, surrounded by Lunarian artifacts. In the background, figures moved: exiles, council members, and Lyra, but different, her eyes cold, her aura darkened. The recording showed her turning on him, draining his energy in a betrayal that left the holographic Kai collapsing. The prophecy was a lie. The voice continued in another snippet. "She's a construct, designed to bind human will to Lunara's empire. Escape while you can." Kai's breath caught, his hand instinctively tightening on Lyra's waist, but now with a mix of confusion and dawning horror. She pulled back slightly, her violet eyes wide with shock, her pointed ears flattening against her head in a rare display of vulnerability. "Kai, this can't be real. I'd never, you know me." But the twist deepened as the signal unpacked a final layer, biometric scans proving the voice was indeed his, from a timeline where their bond had led to subjugation, humans enthralled as energy sources for Lunarian expansion. The chamber felt smaller suddenly, the silken sheets tangling around them like webs. Kai stood, pacing the room, his naked form tense under the orb's light, mind racing through the possibilities. Was this an exile forgery, meant to sow doubt, or a genuine warning from a future self, looped back through some quantum anomaly in the Epsilon Drift? Lyra rose too, her curves swaying with graceful urgency as she approached him, her hands reaching out to touch his arms. "Listen to me," she pleaded, her voice steady but laced with fear. "Our connection is real, feel it, our energies don't lie." He let her draw close, her body molding against his in a familiar embrace, but the surprise lingered, a powerful undercurrent that twisted everything he thought he knew, as their auras mingled, testing the bond. A hidden subroutine in the signal activated, a virus that infiltrated the palace systems, locking doors and dimming lights. Alarms blared softly at first, then grew insistent, signaling an incoming fleet, not exiles, but a coalition of species alerted by the future Kai's broadcast, viewing Lunara as a threat. Chaos erupted outside, distant shouts echoing through the halls as council guards mobilized. Kai whirled to the viewport, seeing ships dropping from hyperspace, human vessels among them, Earth Command banners flashing. "They're here for me," he realized, the twist unfolding. The signal had been a beacon, drawing allies to rescue him from what they perceived as vampire enthrallment. Lyra's face paled further, her small ears twitching with alarm. "No, this divides us all." But the deepest surprise came as Kai accessed his implant's logs, cross-referencing the signal's origin. It wasn't from the future, it was from a cloned variant, a backup consciousness he'd uploaded during a classified Earth mission, awakened in the drift by exile tampering. The betrayal footage, manipulated deepfakes, designed to fracture their alliance at its peak. Yet, embedded in the code was a truth that stunned him. Lyra's heritage wasn't just heir, she was a hybrid, part human from ancient abductions, her vampire nature engineered to bridge species. The prophecy, a cover for a long-game integration, where humans like him were key to Lunara's survival against a greater void threat. Lyra gasped as he shared the revelation, her body trembling against his. I didn't know, the council hid it from me. The twist reframed everything. Their attraction wasn't chance, but a subconscious pull of shared DNA, making their intimacies not just passionate, but pivotal to galactic harmony. Kai pulled her into a fierce hug, the surprise shifting from doubt to determination. Then we use this, turn the trap against them. As invading forces breached the outer defenses, Kai and Lyra dressed hastily, her gown clinging to her form like armor of elegance, his tunic a symbol of his dual allegiance. They burst from the chamber, navigating the palace corridors where loyalists clashed with infiltrators, exiles disguised among the coalition troops. The drama intensified with every step, lasers humming and energies clashing in bursts of light. Kai's wit shone through the surprise, rigging a hallway panel to overload and stun a squad of attackers, while Lyra drained their leaders, her aura flaring brighter with the revelation fueling her power. You're part of us, she called to a human soldier, halting his advance with the truth broadcast via hacked comms. The twist propagated, sowing confusion in the ranks, some turning ally, others retreating in bewilderment. At the heart of the palace, in the throne room, they confronted the mastermind, an exile elder, Vexar's mentor, who had orchestrated the signal to exploit the hybrid secret and seize control. You fools, he sneered, his form augmented with stolen artifacts. The human taint weakens us, but Kai, empowered by the bond, charged forward, his punches enhanced by Lyra's shared energy, dismantling the elder's defenses in a thrilling melee. Lyra joined, her curves a blur of motion as she siphoned his strength, the room crackling with power. In a final surge, they overwhelmed him, the elder collapsing as the coalition forces, now informed of the deception, stood down, peace tentative, alliances reformed, but the powerful twist lingered, Kai's clone still out there in the drift, a potential ally or threat, holding more secrets about human Lunarian origins. As calm returned, Kai and Lyra stood amid the throne room's glow, bodies close, the surprise transforming their love into something legendary. Whatever comes, Kai said, kissing her deeply, we face it as one. Her response, a passionate embrace, sealed the moment, their energies intertwining in promise of futures unwritten. Yet, as they looked to the stars, a new signal pinged from the clone, offering alliance against a looming cosmic entity. The adventure evolved, twists begetting wonders, with human resilience at its core. Yet, as they looked to the stars, a new signal pinged from the clone, offering alliance against a looming cosmic entity. The adventure evolved, twists begetting wonders, with human resilience at its core. But in the throne room's lingering glow, with guards securing the subdued exile elder and council members murmuring in hushed clusters, Kai felt the weight of that signal like an uninvited guest crashing their victory party. Lyra's embrace tightened around him, her curvaceous form pressing close, her white hair tickling his neck as she tilted her head to listen to the faint chime echoing from his implant. An alliance from your other self? She asked, her violet eyes narrowing with a mix of intrigue and unease, her pointed ears perking up as if straining to catch hidden undertones in the void. Kai nodded, his hand still resting on the small of her back, feeling the subtle hum of her energy aura syncing with his pulse, a reminder of their deepened bond. Now laced with this hybrid revelation that made every touch feel like a bridge between worlds. Yeah, the clone's proposing we team up against something called the Void Harbinger. Sounds dramatic, right? Like a bad Hollywood villain. He tried to inject a bit of humor, flashing her a grin, but the throne room's opulent crystals amplified the signal's urgency, projecting holographic fragments into the air, swirling dark nebulae, tendrils of shadow devouring stars, and cryptic warnings about an entity that fed on entire civilizations. The drama heightened instantly, the council falling silent as the projections loomed larger, casting eerie shadows across the ornate floors. One elder, a wizened Lunarian with braided hair resembling twisted vines, stepped forward, his robes swirling dramatically. This Harbinger, legends speak of it as the devourer of light, a primordial force awakening every millennium. If your clone speaks truth, Heir Lyra, we must act swiftly. Lyra pulled away slightly from Kai, her body language shifting to regal poise, but not before her gown caught on his belt buckle, tugging awkwardly and nearly toppling them both. She steadied herself with a hand on his chest, her cheeks flushing that rare pink hue. Apologies, she murmured, untangling the fabric with graceful fingers that brushed against him in a way that sent an unintended spark through his veins. Kai chuckled softly, whispering, "Hey, if we're facing cosmic doom, at least we're going down tangled together." The elder cleared his throat loudly, amplifying the awkwardness, his pointed ears twitching in disapproval as if human levity were a foreign contaminant. The council convened right there, transforming the throne room into an impromptu war chamber, holographic maps unfolding like blooming flowers to display the Harbinger's projected path straight toward Lunara's sector. Drama built as debates erupted. Some elders advocated isolation, sealing the planet's defenses in eternal twilight. Others pushed for aggressive scouting. Kai, thrust into the center as the human hybrid link, found himself awkwardly explaining his clone's origins to a room full of ancient vampires who viewed cloning as a barbaric echo of their own energy-sharing rites. "It's like backing up your data, but with a whole person," he stammered, rubbing the back of his neck while Lyra stood beside him, her curvaceous silhouette a distracting anchor in the tension. One younger council member snorted, a rare burst of Lunarian humor, muttering, "Humans and their copies. Next, you'll tell us you duplicate your meals too." Kai laughed, easing the mood slightly. "Actually, we call that fast food." But the humor was short-lived as the signal updated in real time, the clone's voice crackling through. "Kai, the Harbinger senses your bond. It's drawn to hybrid energies. Rendezvous at Epsilon Drift or it'll consume everything." Lyra's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening, the drama peaking as realizations dawned. Their intimate connection, amplified by the hybrid truth, acted like a beacon. "We've lit a fire in the dark," she whispered, her body leaning into Kai's for support, but in the command bridge's confined space, she accidentally activated a console with her elbow, broadcasting a private message from the clone meant only for Kai. "Brother." Her hybrid nature hides a vulnerability, overdraw her energy, and she becomes the key to repelling it or destroying it. The bridge crew froze, awkward stares turning the air thick. Kai quickly shut it down, but Lyra pulled back, hurt flashing across her face. "You'd use me like that?" Kai's heart sank, the drama twisting into personal turmoil. "No, it's just an option, we're in this together." He pulled her aside to a side alcove, the ship's hum vibrating around them like a judgmental chorus. There, in the dim light, he cupped her face, his thumbs brushing her pointed ears gently. "I'd never risk you. You're not a tool, you're my everything." She melted into him, their lips meeting in a kiss that blended apology and passion, but the moment was interrupted by Ray's barging in. "If you're done with the soap opera, we've got incoming scouts." Lyra and Kai sprang apart, faces flushed, Kai muttering, "Timing, Captain, ever heard of knocking?" Ray's smirked. "In space, doors are optional." The humor helped. Drama surged as they approached Epsilon Drift, the derelict station looming like a skeletal relic amid asteroid debris. Docking was tense, automated defenses, tampered by exiles, firing warning shots that rocked the ship. Kai piloted evasive maneuvers with human flair, spinning the vessel like a dancer dodging rain, eliciting a reluctant "not bad" from Ray's. Inside the station, the air was stale, corridors echoing with ghostly whispers from old logs. Lyra's aura lit the way, her curvaceous form navigating the narrow passages with grace, but she tripped over a loose panel, falling into Kai's arms in a classic awkward catch. "My hero," she teased, but her voice wavered as they neared the clone's chamber. There, the clone awaited, a mirror of Kai, aged by isolation, hooked to machines sustaining his form. "Finally," he rasped, eyes locking on Lyra with unsettling intensity. Drama peaked as he revealed more. The Harbinger wasn't just an entity, it was a sentient anomaly born from ancient Lunarian experiments on human captives, making Lyra's hybrid lineage its child in a twisted sense. "It seeks to reclaim her," the clone warned, "to evolve through her energy." Lyra reeled, collapsing against Kai, her body shaking. "I'm a monster's heir." Kai held her tight, injecting humor to steady her. "Hey, makes you the ultimate rebel princess. We'll kick its cosmic but family style." But the awkwardness escalated when the clone, in a desperate bid, attempted a neural link with Kai, minds merging in a flood of memories, including intimate flashes of Kai and Lyra's nights that accidentally projected onto a nearby screen. The guard averted eyes, Ray's coughed loudly, and Lyra blushed furiously. "Delete that," she demanded, while Kai disconnected, laughing nervously. Note to self, clones need privacy filters. As Harbinger tendrils breached the station, wrapping around hulls like hungry vines, the group fled, drama at fever pitch. Explosions rocked the corridors, forcing awkward scrambles through vents, Lyra's gown snagging again, Kai boosting her with hands in compromising places. Not the time for romance. Reyes yelled, but Kai quipped, multitasking. They escaped to the ship, the clone sacrificing himself to delay the entity. His final words a humorous echo, "Tell my original, get a better haircut." Back aboard, hurtling away as the station imploded in a spectacular burst, Lyra clung to Kai, the revelations weighing heavy. What if it's true? What if I'm dangerous? He kissed her forehead, humor lightening the drama. Then you're my favorite kind of danger. We'll figure it out like always. The ship warped toward Lunara, but scouts reported the Harbinger altering course, drawn inexorably to them. Alarms blared, crew scrambling, awkward alliances tested as human and Lunarian tactics clashed in heated debates. In a brief respite, Kai and Lyra stole to their quarters, bodies seeking comfort amid the storm. Her curves pressed against him in a desperate embrace, but a sudden lurch from evasive maneuvers sent them tumbling onto the bed in a heap of limbs. Graceful as ever, Kai laughed, pulling her close. The humor grounded them, but drama loomed, the entity closing in, forcing a confrontation where Lyra's vulnerability could be their salvation or downfall. As tendrils lashed at the shields, Kai devised a plan, overcharge Lyra's aura with his hybrid-linked energy, turning her into a repelling beacon. "It'll hurt," she warned, eyes fearful. He nodded, holding her hand. "Together, remember." The bridge became a stage of high drama, crew watching as they linked in the ritual circle, energies surging in a blinding light. Awkward intimacy in public view, Lyra's gown fluttering, Kai's armor humming, but humor peeked through when a power surge made his hair stand on end. "Electrifying date," he joked, drawing a smile from her. The surge worked, the Harbinger recoiling with a cosmic shriek, retreating into the void. Cheers erupted, but exhaustion claimed them, Lyra collapsing into Kai's arms. "You saved us," she breathed. He grinned weakly. Team effort, now about that haircut. The ship limped home, drama resolved for now, awkward bonds strengthened, with human humor as the unsung hero. Yet, as Lunara appeared on view screens, a faint echo from the Harbinger whispered through comms, a promise of return, heightening the stakes for futures unknown. Yet, as Lunara appeared on view screens, a faint echo from the Harbinger whispered through comms, a promise of return, heightening the stakes for futures unknown. But in that moment, with the ship's engines humming a steady lullaby and the crew exhaling collective breaths of relief, Kai chose to focus on the woman beside him rather than the shadows lurking in the stars. Lyra's hand remained clasped in his, her pale skin warm from their shared energy surge, her violet eyes reflecting the planet's twilight glow like twin amethysts catching the last light of a dying sun. She leaned into him, her curvaceous form fitting against his side, as if the universe had sculpted them to interlock perfectly. And for the first time since the chaos began, a quiet peace settled over them like a gentle nebula cloud. The landing on Lunara was smoother than any they'd experienced before. The flagship gliding into the royal docks amid cheers from gathered crowds, Lunarians waving crystalline banners, their pointed ears perked in celebration, mingled with human coalition members who had stayed behind, clapping with that earthy enthusiasm Kai knew so well. As they disembarked, the eternal dusk enveloped them, the air rich with the scent of night-blooming vines that climbed the palace spires, their petals unfurling in rhythmic waves. Kai kept Lyra close, his arm around her waist, feeling the subtle sway of her hips with each step, a reminder of the intimacies they'd shared amid the storms. The council awaited in the grand hall, but for once, there were no urgent summons or dramatic revelations, just nods of respect and murmurs of gratitude, acknowledging the hybrid pair who had turned back the tide. In the days that followed, as repairs hummed through the palace and scouts monitored the void for any sign of the Harbinger's resurgence, Kai and Lyra found solace in stolen moments that wove their lives tighter together. They wandered the twilight gardens, where bioluminescent flowers cast a soft radiance on Lyra's white hair, making it shimmer like a cascade of captured starlight. She shared stories of Lunara's ancient lore, her voice a melodic whisper that danced on the breeze, while Kai recounted Earth's wild histories, tales of underdogs rising against impossible odds, his words infused with that unyielding human spirit that had first drawn her to him. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, laughter bubbling up when he teased her about her pointed ears twitching like curious antennas during his more outlandish anecdotes, or when she playfully drained just a hint of his energy to test his resilience, leaving him breathless and grinning. One evening, under a canopy of glowing vines that mimicked a starry sky, they sat on a carved bench overlooking the shadowy valleys. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, her body curling into his with a natural ease, her curves pressing softly against him in a way that stirred memories of their passionate nights. "Do you regret any of it?" she asked quietly, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on his thigh, sending gentle tingles through his skin. "The banter that started this whirlwind, the battles, the revelations about who I am?" Kai turned to her, cupping her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing the delicate points of her ears, feeling the subtle pulse of her aura responding to his touch. "Regret? Never. You turned a joke into the greatest adventure of my life, and you're the heart of it all." Their lips met in a kiss that was slow and deep, a melding of warmth and cool essence, where every brush of tongues and press of bodies reaffirmed the bond that had saved worlds. As time passed, the Harbinger's threat didn't vanish entirely. It lingered like a distant comet, its echoes occasionally whispering through deep space probes, but Kai's ingenuity and Lyra's ancient wisdom forged a new defense. They collaborated with the Council and Earth Command, blending human tech with Lunarian energies to create a network of sentinel stations that pulsed with hybrid power, repelling any encroaching shadows before they could form. Kai's clone, or what remained of its consciousness uploaded to a secure nexus, became an unlikely advisor, its data streams offering insights into the entity's patterns, turning a twist of fate into a tool for peace. The awkwardness of those early alliances faded, replaced by genuine respect. Captain Reyes even shared a drink with Lunarian elders, toasting to stubborn humans and elegant vampires, in a moment that had everyone chuckling. Lyra's role as heir evolved too, no longer a burden of hidden secrets but a platform for unity. With Kai by her side, officially her consort in a ceremony that blended Lunarian rites with Earth traditions. Complete with energy-sharing vows and a human-style cake that left sticky icing on her pointed ears, they bridged divides across the galaxy. Delegations from Zerathia and beyond visited, marveling at the pair, the rugged human explorer with his quick wit and unbreakable resolve, and the ethereal vampire heir with her graceful power and compassionate heart. Their story became legend, whispered in spaceports and sung in Lunarian ballads, a testament to how a simple jest could ignite a love that reshaped stars. In quieter times, they returned to the chamber where it all deepened, the grand bed a sanctuary of silk and shared dreams. Kai would pull her close, his hands exploring the familiar curves with a reverence that made her moan softly, her aura flaring in harmonious response. Their intimacies were a dance of equals, his human warmth igniting her cool essence, her energy amplifying his sensations until they lost themselves in waves of bliss, bodies entwining in rhythms that spoke of eternal partnership. Afterward, as they lay tangled in sheets, her white hair splayed across his chest, they'd talk of futures, exploring uncharted sectors together, perhaps starting a family that embodied their hybrid legacy, children with pointed ears and human fire, one fateful cycle. As probes confirmed the Harbinger's retreat into dormancy, perhaps for another millennium. Sated or wary of the light they'd kindled, Kai and Lyra stood on a palace balcony, overlooking the valleys where new alliances bloomed like the night flowers below. The galaxy stretched before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities, dotted with stars that seemed to wink in approval. Lyra turned to him, her violet eyes shining with love, her hand pressing against his heart. "From a joke to this," she murmured, her voice filled with wonder. Kai grinned, that signature human sparkle in his eyes, pulling her into an embrace that molded her curves perfectly against him. Humanity's best trait, turning the unexpected into triumph. And with you, every moment's a win. As they kissed under the twilight sky, the whispers of the void faded, replaced by the promise of shared horizons. Their bond, forged in banter, battle, and boundless affection, stood as a beacon for all species, proof that love could conquer the cosmos, one resilient heartbeat at a time, and in the vast expanse, where adventures awaited and mysteries beckoned. Kai and Lyra ventured forth together, their story not an end, but an eternal beginning, a harmonious blend of human spirit and alien grace, illuminating the stars forevermore. The peace they built wasn't without its ripples. Occasional echoes from the Harbinger tested their defenses, but each time, Kai's clever strategies, rerouting sentinel energies or deploying decoy beacons, combined with Lyra's intuitive siphoning, turned threats into triumphs. Their hybrid children, when they came, inherited the best of both worlds, a daughter with flowing white hair and a son's unyielding curiosity, growing up in a palace alive with laughter and learning. Kai taught them Earth's games, chasing them through gardens with mock laser tags, while Lyra shared the subtle arts of energy weaving, her pointed ears twitching in amusement at their eager attempts. Years blended into cycles, their love deepening like a well-aged nebula wine. Kai's hair grayed at the temples, but his spirit remained as vibrant as ever, his embraces still igniting sparks in Lyra's aura. She, timeless in her vampire grace, found new joys in his human ways, the way he'd surprise her with picnics under simulated suns or compose silly ballads about their first awkward encounter. "Remember when you stripped and said, 'Make room?'" He'd tease, drawing her into fits of giggles that echoed through the halls. The galaxy watched their legacy unfold. Alliances flourished, with humans and Lunarians co-piloting exploratory fleets, discovering worlds where hybrid societies thrived. The Heart of Nytheria, once a relic of division, became a symbol of unity, its pulses syncing with sentinel networks to foster peace. Even Captain Reyes, now an admiral, visited often, sharing stories of her own adventures, her stern facade cracking into smiles around the family. In the quiet evenings, as their children dreamed under the twilight, Kai and Lyra would retreat to their chamber, bodies rediscovering each other with the passion of youth tempered by the depth of experience. His hands would roam her curves, eliciting soft sighs, while her energy enveloped him, creating sensations that transcended time. "You're my forever," he'd whisper, and she'd respond with a kiss that sealed their souls anew. And so, what began as a jest in a distant colony evolved into an epic of love and resilience, where a human's wit and a vampire's heart conquered the unknown. The stars bore witness, their light eternal, as Kai and Lyra's story inspired generations, a good ending not of closure, but of endless possibility, where humanity's indomitable spirit shone brightest in the embrace of the cosmos. And so, in the embrace of the stars, Kai and Lyra's legacy endured, a beacon of hope where humanity's unyielding spirit met the eternal grace of the cosmos, inspiring worlds to unite against the unknown. As the storyteller, I absolutely loved crafting this tale. It's a thrilling mix of romance, adventure, and HFY vibes that shows how love can conquer even the stars. What do you think? Would you want to see Kai and Lyra face the Harbinger's return in a sequel? Thank you so much for watching. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are the biggest motivation for us to create even better stories. Hit that button and let's keep the adventure going.